Hi, I'm Jason Rice, attorney and founder at Dirigo Divorce, a full-service family law firm. I want to talk briefly a little bit about kind of the next steps in a family law case, whether it's a divorce or a child custody matter. So one of the things that you probably have received in the mail or will get in the mail is what's called a case management conference. Um, and it's a notice for that first step. And so the case management conference is an opportunity for the parties to get together at the courthouse. Sometimes it's by phone, sometimes it's by Zoom. But for this example, let's say it's at the courthouse, and the notice will give you a date, a time, and a courtroom, and where so that way you know where you need to be for that case management conference. And so at that conference, the court's going to do a couple of things. It's going to make sure that the information of the parties is correct. It's going to try to determine what issues the court needs to address. So if it's a divorce matter involving children, is there property that needs to be distributed? Is there real estate? Is there bank accounts? And then the kid issues related to children. Where are the children living primarily? Is there any agreement on where they're going to live? A contact schedule? These are all things that the court might address during that. If it's a child custody case, it's the same type of thing. The court's going to see if there's any agreement on visitation and contact, primary residency, parental rights and responsibilities. One thing to keep in mind is typically if there's children involved, the court will almost always put in an interim child support order if it's not being paid. So if the parties are living separate at the time, the court will do a calculation on child support, and they're going to use the state guidelines on how to do that. And that way, whoever has the children primarily, they're the one that's typically owed child support. And so the court's just trying to make sure that that is being put in place. Often the parties are free to agree on a different number. They're free to waive it if that's something that they agree on. But the court statutorily typically has to put in some type of interim child support calculation if possible. But the case management conferences typically don't last very long, and they can be an opportunity for parties to put something on the record regarding issues, and so that way the court can kind of narrow down what it needs to narrow down. Something else to keep in mind is often the court will try to see if the parties want to either talk, if possible, briefly, maybe have a brief mediation. Sometimes they'll have a mediator available for the parties to engage, like in a 30-minute mediation, so that they can try to resolve some of those issues if possible. And it could be on an interim basis or it could be on a final basis. Now, if the parties come to the case management conference with an agreement already in place, maybe a full agreement, the court is often going to try to use that time to put that on the record and resolve the matter. So if it's a divorce case and it's been beyond the 60-day statutory time frame for when the soonest parties can get divorced, the court will put that on the record if they have a full agreement on all the issues, and the divorce will be entered and they can kind of go their own way. So it is an opportunity for, again, the court is really trying to just figure out what's the next steps, what issues have been resolved, and kind of what's going for, what to expect, allowing the parties to find out what to expect kind of going forward. So if you have any questions regarding your family law case and next steps and what to expect, feel free to reach out to Dirigo Divorce at www.dirigo-divorce.com or call 207-200-3231. We'll be happy to help schedule maybe a consultation, kind of help you kind of discuss your case and what the next steps in that matter might be.